On a separate issue, free speech, your Vice President, Vance, said that free speech is under attack in the UK. Do you agree with him? And Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmie Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmie Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, on the question of Charlie Kirk, can I just express how shocking that is, I think, to everybody who believes in free speech and in democracy. It's...
So, yeah, let me jump in there right quick. I'm actually freezing that frame. I'm going to jump back to it. There's a couple things going on. In about 10 minutes, I'm thinking, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, our President Donald Trump, will be making the announcement about autism. Yep, there will be definitely some announcement about autism in about 10 minutes. Let me see. I think my volume is a little off. Let me get it up some. I apologize if you're hearing some reverb or echoing, but I do want to get my sound up somewhat. Let me see if that'll work better. Oh, yeah, that's cool right there. I didn't want any plosives or different things like that. There's some compression on the mic. But anyway, like I was saying, in about 10 minutes, in less than 10 minutes, if things are scheduled on time, our president will be making an announcement, probably from the White House, about autism. As we know, millions of mothers, especially in the United States, and probably 10 times as more across the world, the issue of autism is definitely something to give notice to. And then I know in the United States, the trajectory or the increase in terms of identifying autism in kids has just been exponentially to the upside for any number of reasons. So there's supposed to be some real announcements, some good announcements made by the president about autism and what is being done, what is being discovered, different things like that. But as you can see in that thumbnail right there, yeah, Jimmie Kimmel, they say he's back. I mean, they say he's back, and this ties directly into the question that was asked while the president was over in England a couple days ago. And again, let's go back to what that question was from one of the reporters over there as it pertains to free speech in America.
And on a separate issue, free speech, your Vice President, Vance, said that free speech is under attack in the UK. Do you agree with him? And Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmie Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmie Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, on the question of Charlie Kirk, can I just express how shocking that is, I think, to everybody who believes in free speech and in democracy. It sent shockwaves through the world. And I know that he was a friend of the president, and I reached out straight away to the president because I understood how impactful it'd be on him and his family. And we all need to be absolutely clear about that. Whatever our political views, it is shocking and is to be condemned. On free speech, not much to add to the answer I gave earlier. This country's had free speech for a very, very long time. It is part of who we are as a country, and it is the values that we fought for. We fought for it during the Second World War alongside each other. So we need no reminding of the importance of free speech in this country. Thank you, Robert.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest.
Yeah, and so like I said, what you're seeing on the screen now, and I actually switched to another monitor. What you're seeing on the screen is one of Fox Networks pointed at the White House, and there goes the flag. I actually did a live this morning in Chicago, and I just was pointing at the flag while I was speaking. But yeah, Jimmie Kimmel. They say he's back. It made me think of a hip hop song. It was like "Guess Who's Back" or something like that. But ignore me. That has nothing to do with anything. I was just trying to get the details of Jimmie Kimmel being back. They said that his next show, like taping, will be viewed Tuesday night. I'm quite sure many people, like the ratings will be like crazy on this. And what they're going to do, they're probably going to try to see or get an idea, is he toning things down? How is that going to look? Different things like that. But let me see if I can just bring a screen share over here real quick, because I actually caught this, of course. Where else you going to catch it? Coming off of what? TMZ. So let's see what it says. There it is right there. Jimmie Kimmel, I'm back on ABC. That's what it says. That's not me. If it's a lie being told, split the accountability up between ABC and TMZ and all the rest of the people. So just, don't hold me. Don't hold me. Split it up. Split it up. Split it up. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let's see if we can get this a little bigger, and then maybe get some text going up here. All right. So let me try to do my version of reading. Jimmie Kimmel's suspension is coming to an end. His late night talk show, Jimmie Kimmel Live, will return to ABC on Tuesday night. That's tomorrow, September the 23rd. Okay? So keep that in mind. The Walt Disney Company tells TMZ in a statement Monday, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at the emotional moment for our country. It is a decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmie, and after those conversations, we've reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So they've been kicking it with Jimmie. I told y'all, don't cry a river for Jimmie. Multi-millionaire, connections, plenty of talent, plenty money saved up. He got peoples. His people called his people who called his peoples who's got peoples. Okay? But let's listen to what he had said. Here it goes.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
Okay, so those was the comments that Jimmie Kimmel had made. And it says, as you know, Jimmie Kimmel Live was put on indefinite hiatus after Jimmie's comment about Charlie Kirk's alleged murder prompted the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, to warn ABC it needed to take actions on Kimmel, or else the government would get involved. So that's what this is. There's calls for Kim to be fired. There's all type of stuff. Irresponsible conduct, different things like that. It goes on to say the suspension will have lasted under a week. Yeah, think about that. This guy's been suspended for almost a week. It started last Wednesday. He's back on the air tomorrow, which is technically almost, depending on what time the suspension was logged in for, a week or a week and a couple minutes. Okay. President Trump celebrated the suspension and took a bunch of shots at Jimmie, including at the Kirk Memorial Service over the weekend. And it will be interesting to see what POTUS has to say about Jimmie coming back. That is interesting. Why is that interesting? Because in 1 second or less than 60 seconds, we'll be watching a different screen because the president is actually speaking at the White House, making announcements. There go the flag about autism. That's where it is. And I have the volume turned up, so when it pops off, it pops off. But it's crazy that this article, that this big thing about Jimmie Kimmel is back, and he's going to be back on the air as early as tomorrow, actually came out today, right before the president is making this big announcement about autism. And he's probably going to say some things about the TikTok deal with China and different things like that. But here it is, seconds before the mics get hot at the White House, Jimmie Kimmel is back. So now it's like, watch what you say or watch what I say. But let's listen to some of the comments the president made about Jimmie Kimmel's firing at Charlie Kirk's services this weekend.
Feel healthier
Oh,
and
of
more
course it's going to
confident
be
with a weight loss
after
plan
the
through
commercial. I apologize. Now, there is some truth to everyone or other people being fired. There were reporters from MSNBC. There were teachers. There were security guards. There were people from all walks of life that had something to say that either was marked as sensitive or possibly, I don't want to say hate speech. It depends who you talk to, even more who you listen to. But, you know, this is the price we pay for the so-called freedom of speech or to speak freely. There's a cost associated with it. What are you willing to pay? Here's the president. Let me back it up and get the sound working. Can I get this? What's wrong with the sound? It's me, guys. I apologize. I need tech support. Anybody know tech support? I can't get the sound. Now, I'm going to blame it. Now, I'm on some conspiracy. Why my sound not working? I'm on it. I'm on security. I'm on conspiracy now. Hold up. Is it doing that on purpose? That's crazy. I can't. My sound is not coming on. I'm serious. Hold up. Let me do it like this. I'm telling you.
Remember, it's not a competition.
I
It's
don't
a learning
have
opportunity.
sound.
That. It's totally a competition.
Now I do.
Smarty Pants support Spring.
All right, here we go.
Charlie
No,
said,
no.
that there
It
was no
skipped
such
the
thing as
whole
hate
segment.
speech.
See? It skipped the whole segment. Let's get back to this. This is where I want to be. Here we go. Let's see if it'll let it play. Maybe it's saying, look, you didn't listen to our infomercial, so we're not playing with you.
Feel healthier and more confident with a weight loss plan through hers.
But just let me be
My
quiet.
main
Let me
goal
jump
is
over
to
to the
feel
other
better
screen
in
and see
my
if
own
it
skin.
started at the White House. No, not yet. White House RFK Jr. make announcement on autism and Tylenol. So hopefully that'll be good because I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. You know, like the dads may not be dialed in, but the moms be on the front line, especially with that autism or something's not right with the pregnancy. So we need something. I want something good. I want to hear a good announcement, something helpful. And if they can tie in the relationship between that and Tylenol, that's even better. Okay, we got some action right there. Let's see if we can get some sound on the other piece. This is not even playing. Okay, it's playing now. Let me jump back.
I just wanted to regain my confidence.
Okay. I'll just drag this out so I can see it over here. Yeah. Oh.
1, 2, 1, 2. Hey, hey.
Y'all hear that?
Audio check for everyone in the room. I got 1 thumbs up. Do I got thumbs up from Cuts? Check 1, 2. Thumbs up.
They're doing
Okay,
the
good to
audio
go.
check in the White House for the announcement, guys. We'll be there in a minute. Everybody relax.
As a quick reminder, can everyone put their phones on silent, please, or turn your ringers off?
All of that that y'all hear, that's on another screen.
Empowering. I feel more in control.
I love their easy-to-use platform.
And I'm going to jump right over to it as soon as people walk through the door. Make no question about it, because I'm curious, too, about the Tylenol, if there's some type of relationship between Tylenol and...
Your Vice President, Vance, said that free speech is under attack in the UK. Do you agree with him? And Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmie Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmie Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Ooh, boy. That's crazy, right?
Experience Halloween weekends at Jellystone Park, Barton Lake.
That's
Unleash
something.
your inner ghoul
But
with frightfully fun
he's back.
activities like Halloween
He'll be on your
ceramics
screens
and
tomorrow
tie-dye,
night.
a magic
Jimmy
pumpkin
Kimmel,
experience,
live.
and costume
On everybody's
contests.
screen tomorrow night.
Scare up some
That
fun
suspension
with
lasted
eerie trick-or-treating,
less than a week.
haunted trails, and ghostly
Less
late-night
than
laser
a
tag.
week. That's the
Well,
crazy.
guys, the big story is that Jimmie Kimmel was suspended by ABC after pressure from the FCC, leaving everyone thinking WTF. This morning, I woke up to 100 text messages from my dad saying, I'm sorry they canceled your show.
Antoine Jackson says he didn't make fun of Kurt.
That's Jimmie Kimmel.
He made fun of Trump. Okay.
But to be honest with you all, I don't know what's going on. And no one does. But I do know Jimmie Kimmel. And he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored. But I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would.
Let's see what President Trump said. All right, so this is Trump at the memorial service. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, I see the comments. I see the comments with the Mike 2. Roseanne was fired because she broke her contract. Her contract that she signed prohibit certain things. Okay, so she went against the contract. Okay. Trump and the FCC bragged about them forcing the firing of Kimmel. They said they have much more on their list, or many more on their list. Wow. This is not good for free speech, I don't think. But let's see what the president
Of our response to Charlie's murder. Over the last 11 days, we have heard stories of commentators, influencers, and others in our society who greeted his assassination with sick approval, excuses, or even jubilation. You've heard that. So have I. Couldn't believe it. You know the names. They're major losers, by the way. That will be proven out in a short period of time. Some of the very people who call you a hater for using the wrong pronoun were filled with glee at the killing of a father with 2 beautiful young children. And the same commentators
said Jimmy
who
was
this week
also
are
fired
screaming
because he violated
fascism
the contract.
over a canceled late-night TV show where the anchor had no talent and no ratings. Last week we're implying that Charlie Kirk deserved what happened to him. No side in American politics has a monopoly on disturbed or misguided people.
What Hunter
But there's one
Julius
part
Trump
of our
said.
political
I'm
community
just
which
gonna
believes
pin it
they have a monopoly on
because,
truth,
hey,
goodness, and virtue, and
Hunter
concludes they
Julius
have
Trump
also
has a
a
point.
monopoly on power, thought, and speech. Well, that's not happening anymore. We've turned that corner very quickly.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to be taken. But guess who's back? Jimmy. Jimmy's back. Look at this. Here it is. You think I'm making it up? No. If it's a lie being told, split it between TMZ and ABC. I'm just reporting what I see. But here's the thing that I have to make note of, that I have to say, that I will say. It's crazy that this announcement that he's back comes 5 minutes before the mic gets hot on the president's announcement on autism, which we're going to jump to in a second. Here's the, in fact, where are we? Let me get that up and over. Yeah, we're going to be there as soon as they come out. But I know, like right now, if not already, somebody probably already said to him, look, man, just be on point. Soon as you get finished with the autism and the media starts taking question, they're going to ask you about, did you hear Jimmie Kimmel was back? That's what they're going to hit you with. All that shit about autism, and we happy and we glad, and we've been needing this and been searching it since autism was named autism. Yeah, part of and most of that might be true, but the bottom line is they're going to ask about Jimmie Kimmel. And you know, Trump going to say, look how these people is. Here it is, we making the announcement. We made a discovery. We getting closer to understanding what's going on here with autism. We're trying to prevent, save, and be proactive for all the mothers that might be confused and have all these misunderstandings about what's going on. And these people, all they want to know about is Jimmie Kimmel coming back. That's all they want to know. Now, he not lying when he says that now. Let's just be perfectly honest, okay? Let's keep it a buck here. Let's try to keep it a buck. Let's lie every other time. Let's just lie every other time. Because he's right. Because it's true. Don't matter how devastating autism is, damn people gonna ask about TikTok and they gonna ask about the announcement of Jimmie Kimmel. They gonna do it nice. They gonna say, President Trump, that's great news about autism. I think it's wonderful, but I know you was getting ready for this announcement, but did you get a chance? Did anybody brief you that Jimmie's back? Yeah, Jimmie. And we're not talking about Jimmie that plays chess in Chicago on the South Side, because there's a Jimmie that when we see him, we say Jimmie's back. Because he'll go off, he'll just disappear, and then when Jimmie pop back up to play chess, we say Jimmie's back. Well, we're not talking about that Jimmie on the South Side of Chicago that plays chess really well. We're talking about Jimmie Kimmel. They say he not only back, Jimmie not only back, Jimmie ain't even been gone a week. And Jimmie back on the air, and Jimmie will be, there he is, right there. Jimmie Kimmel is back. I'm back on ABC, Disney, all of that. Yeah. And here's the story. This is the story. This is the story they're telling now. His late night talk show, Jimmie Kimmel Live, will return to ABC on Tuesday night. That's tomorrow. It's probably going to be one of the highest rating watched shows out. You talking about ratings off the chain? You talking about going viral? Any and everything he says is going to hit. Yes. The Walt Disney Company tells TMZ in a statement Monday, last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment for our country. It is the decision we made because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmie. And after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. Ding, 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 ding. So after one or less than 1 week, less than a week, this guy's back. Now, are we going to say he's back because of free speech? Are we going to say he's back because this is the way that America is galvanizing and pushing back on the FCC being the puppet to the puppet master? Are we going to say that ABC's ratings was so trashed now that they need to take advantage of this viral moment to give everybody's programming on ABC or Disney a shot in the arm like it's a B12 shot? Here we go. I got a booster for all y'all, and it's called The Return of Jimmie Kimmel. Is that what it is? And then what about The View? Did y'all see where they said The View had nothing to say when Jimmy was let go? The View. Now, you can't pay them to shut up. And why should you? They pay them to talk. But they had nothing to say. Nothing to say. Here go Whoopi Goldberg. We weren't silent. See that? You know, it reminds me of my ex, one of my exes, right? She had nothing to say until I say, look, I'm going to discontinue communication with you, this, that, and that. The View had nothing to say until somebody called them out and said, all that running y'all mouth y'all do, and y'all have nothing to say. But then right here it says, Whoopi Goldberg, The View, we weren't silenced. We're going to talk about Kimmel. Now, when anything else happens, you got to go get some of that gorilla tape or masking tape and come in there like EMS to make The View be quiet about anything. This is the first time I saw these two words coming from somebody from The View. We're gonna. I remember my father used to say, clean up the basement before you go outside. I said, I'm gonna. We gonna. Yeah, it's amazing. That's what they said. Let's see what they really said.
Anything about it first.
Hold
we
on.
did the same thing with.
Here they go.
Now look, did y'all really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmie Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons? So you know, no one silences us. And to all my friends in Italy who reached out, you have to know it's okay. We're still here. We're still broadcasting. And when the news broke last week about Jimmie Kimmel's suspension, we took a breath to see if Jimmy was going to say anything about it first. We did the same thing with Stephen Colbert. Then our show was on tape on Friday. But we are live here today, and we're getting into it now.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. BS. We don't need you to get into it on the day that the man being brought back, because now you got to do another live taping, and now you got to wait until he says something about being brought back, and then we're going to talk about it. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. I didn't see y'all pop off about nothing. Couldn't nobody even tell y'all to shut up.
But to be clear, you cannot like a now, I want to make sure
let me cut her off, because you don't need that much goddamn time to stutter and think before you get your next thought out. But anyway, here's what's happening at the White House right now. Okay, the White House is set up. This is live White House. They're going to come out with RFK Jr. You know, he's the master medical mind behind the White House. He does all of the stuff. He's the magician between the molecules and the medicines and the pills and the drills and who got it, who don't, where it came from, where it's going. That's Trump's man. Him, President Trump, they're going to come out there. They're going to drop some serious, well-researched, well-deserved. People want to know about autism, where we at. Are we closer to a cure? Is there a different way of detecting it? Is there another way of managing it? Or are there some relations between diet, lifestyle, different things like that that will assist people in either forecasting or preparing for the other or the earlier aforementioned I did. I always get mixed up aforementioned or latter. You ever used to see that when you read something aforementioned and latter like that, right? Whichever one it is, that's what they're going to come out and say. And I don't care how serious it is. I don't care how deep RFK Jr. then went, how deserved he is to be cheered and revered for his finding, him and his team, how wonderful Trump presents it. I don't care how it goes. The second question, after they say, that's wonderful, that's wonderful. Did you know that Jimmie Kimmel is back?
Got this right. To be clear, you cannot like a show and it can go off the air. Someone can say something they shouldn't and get taken off the air, but the government cannot apply pressure to force someone to be silenced.
Now, she is a week late. She's 100 and some hours late. And I'll say that 7 times 24, so 24, sometimes 24 is 28. 7 times 2 is 114. So that's 140 hours plus 28. It's 168 hours in a week. She's like at the 160th hour, she's going to come out and give us some, what do you call it, aphorism or some hyperbole on free speech as it is in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. And she's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. The First Amendment in the United States Constitution says freedom of speech will not be abridged, or the government, state, federal, whatever, will not abridge the freedom of speech. And she's kind of right. I'm just throwing the idea out here of the government is not to be the tool or used as a tool to advocate for persecution or the abridging, the silencing of freedom of speech. Absolutely. That is, the government can't be the tool. You can't go get the government. That's what it says. That's why, I was reading something, I was sharing it with a buddy of mine, and it talks about parrhesia, or is it parrhesia? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's spelled Parrhesia or something. And then there's something called Isegoria. Isegoria is Isegoria. Now, of course, we got to go back 2,800 years, 2,400 years, Socrates, the whole BCE time, whatever. But typically what parrhesia was speech that was real strong, like bold and blatant, like man, you pushing it, right? And then the idea of Isegoria was that everybody has an equal platform to speak. Now, we know that idea of everybody having an equal platform to speak is not necessarily true. And the reason why it's not necessarily true, because in the country of the United States, where we're speaking from, if you don't have the money, if you don't have the platform, if you don't have the status, you don't get the mic. I'm not talking about on YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook. No, the mic, where you at, gets you the mic, gets you the voice. But parrhesia is more closer to the satire, parodies, strong opinions being expressed and all of that, where the First Amendment ostensibly is supposed to protect people, right? Now, of course, the White House knows better about this than me. I'm just doing my 5 minutes. They almost ready to talk. Let's get back to Whoopi.
Not up to Brendan Carr. It is not up to him. I don't understand how you are the man in charge of the nation and you still don't understand how the First Amendment works.
Whoa, you hear that? Did you hear that? Wow. R.I.P. First Amendment. First Amendment gone. They's around here somewhere. First Amendment. Yeah. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you now, That's why I had a live this morning, and I've done a couple lives in the last couple weeks. There's free speech, there's freedom of speech, however you want to play with the semantic shift, however you want to do the semantic play with the word game. But here's what I know in reality, to speak freely cost.
It is a new day.
And you got to keep that in mind.
A day where it feels like more than ever, free speech and the First Amendment.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Some people are saying R.I.P. To the First Amendment after Jimmie Kimmel was officially suspended, but suspended indefinitely by ABC in reaction to some comments he made on his show the other night.
You've probably heard a lot about this. We're going to show you Donald Trump's reaction to all of what happened, but just to refresh your memory, because it's important in the context of what Trump said, here's what Jimmie Kimmel said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
So that's what he said.
That's what he said.
So several of the station groups said we're taking them off the air. But then ABC had the option of keeping it going with fewer stations.
Right.
The FCC comes out and says basically either you cancel that show or we're going after you. And they decided hours later we're canceling the show indefinitely.
Right. So now President Trump reacting to this, because it has obviously been very, very big news. And I believe this is before he left London.
Right.
This is what he had to say about Jimmie Kimmel's suspension.
Well, Jimmie Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmie Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Except the FCC threatened ABC.
Right. That's the part he left out. And that is the critical part that makes this, that's where it becomes a First Amendment issue, that you have a government body threatening broadcasters because of something that Jimmie Kimmel said.
I don't know. I do know, I did pay attention to
Feel healthier and more confident
what's my man's
with a weight
name?
loss plan.
I forget his name. I apologize. I got to apologize real quick because I be forgetting names. It's my fault. Yeah, it's my fault. Hold up. Let me do this. They go to White House. What's this guy's name? I think it's Anthony something. Hold up. Let me travel back. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not good with names, man. Usually if somebody attack me and call me something disrespectful and I get emotional, I remember your name. But you say something that makes sense, I got to go back and find the name. Antoine Jackson says that's it, a jab at Trump. So early in the chat, Antoine Jackson had said, look, he said what he said, but if you're paying attention to what he says, he's not poking at Charlie Kirk. He's poking at President Trump. That's what he said, And if you listen to it, he's not attacking. He's attacking. He's really making fun of Trump. That's what it is to me, right? But, it is to what it is. Gustavo Fuentes says, how about when Gustavo Fuentes, I apologize, I'm saying your name wrong. How about when conservatives were being counseled, including Trump, y'all? I don't know. I don't know about that. Gustavo Fuentes says, how about when conservatives were being counseled, including Trump? Gustavo, put in the chat, or somebody put in the chat, a show that was canceled. Now, I will agree on this. I'm just keeping it a buck. I will agree on this. Those charges they went at Trump with, I know it's 34 felonies. He was convicted of 34 felonies. Them is the lowest charges, felony count you could find anybody guilty of. In all those counts. They were the lowest of the lowest. They said all together, if they booked them for everything, if they sentenced him, maxed him out for everything, he might get 41 months or 4 months. So, an attack is an attack. The misuse of power is the misuse of power. I'm not saying whether somebody deserved it or not. The point of it is, when you misuse the power and you turn it into a weapon, you weaponize your position, it's just not right. It's just, it looks cute and it sounds funny, and that's what they get when you on the right side. But when you on the other side, and then now you're experiencing, and now they're exacting that same tool at you, then people want to talk about what God wouldn't appreciate. But you didn't bring God's appreciation when you was using it against me. Now you want to remind me about God when I got it and I'm using it against you. Ain't nobody crazy, man. People might be stupid. Ain't nobody that crazy. Let's see. Brandon Wilson says, Jimmie was working though and on somebody else's dollar while speaking. You represent your company when you speak. He didn't say it. He didn't say it on his own time. He said it on live TV. I gotta go with Brandon Wilson on that one, no doubt. That's very clear. That's the way you stated that was clear, and the way I understand it, that's the way it is. There's no protection in the Constitution, First Amendment or not, against what you say when it comes to private entities. ABC is a private entity. Sure, we know the mitigating circumstance is the pressure came from Trump's arm of force, the FCC, to say something about ABC. We get that. But any company you work for that's private, if they don't like your lifestyle, if they don't like what you say, absolutely, Brandon Wilson, 100, 1,000 on that one. That's the way it is. Like I told somebody earlier today, you telling me you ain't never lived in a house, whether it be with your parents or your siblings or your spouse or your in-laws or whatever, and y'all get into a discussion and they say, look, I don't care what you think. You might even be right, but I don't want to hear that shit in my house. There you go. There you go. See, it ain't got nothing to do with what's right and what's moral, what's ethical, what's legal, none of that. It's who running shit at the time. So that's why I told my daughter, you got to go to school, you got to get educated, you got to have some self-worth. You got to be excited about the things you want to do in life, because if you marry a man and he's the provider and you don't have an education, and he's the educated degree person, and you don't have a career, and he has a wonderful career, and you don't have money you earn on your own, and he does all of that, it's going to seem wonderful at first, but in the end, or when it gets good, he'll be providing your answers to your own thoughts, because you won't have any. You won't be able to argue. You won't be able to stand up for yourself. Your thoughts and your answers to his ideas will be provided to you from him. Why? Because he's running the whole shop. It's his. In a private entity, when you're doing your own thing, ABC is private, Disney is private, NFL is private. All of these things are private. Can you say what you want? Absolutely. You probably can't find nobody that's going to tell you can't say what you want. Is there a cost to what you say? Absolutely. You don't think it's a cost to what you say? Here go a home kit cost to what you say kit. I'm going to give you this. Here's a kit, free of charge. You don't even have to email me or cash at me. I'm going to give it to you right now. Here's a toolkit you can use if you think people crazy. Go home, and when your wife or your husband or your girl or that significant other asks you, do it look like I'm gaining weight? You know damn well she been past anything that looked like she gaining weight 63 fucking pounds ago. But are you going to sit there and say, no, you've been gained weight? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to say, no, baby, You look fine. In fact, it looked like you losing weight. That's what you're going to say. You're going to lie because the cost of telling the truth is fix your own dinner, I'm not having sex with you, and all the other shit that come with it. So you got to sit in there and lie while others tell her the truth and you tell her they don't know what they talking about. That's a small example. You want to know the cost of telling your kids they can't sing or play the violin while you paying $75 an hour for them to do that shit twice a week, and you praying to God that they find another interest so you could use that money to pay a real bill with? Yeah, you don't want to pay the cost. Why? Self-esteem. You done crushed the ego. I'm depressed. Now we got to get counseling. Now you mean to the kids. Come on, guys. Let's be adults here. There's a price we pay for everything we say. Look in this chat. Look right in this chat. Look at this chat. People write in this chat. I say something. They say, you fucking idiot. I'm reporting you to YouTube. I'm going to tell all my friends not to look at your channel. That's the cost I pay just to exercise my so-called freedom of speech. Now, ultimately, YouTube decides whether to unplug me or not because of that. But I'm just saying, the reporting, what people say, it's a cost. Now, if you are in the position that either you're so indifferent or you don't mind paying the cost, have at it. That's why when people drink, they don't think about the cost of what they say, because the id, the ego, and the superego, they no longer working together. And that id is that immediate self-gratification, and somebody says what's on their mind, and they just wake up after the hangover and deal with the cost. So, if you think anybody should be able to say what they want when they want and express their views, that might be true. I don't suggest it if you got a job, though. I don't suggest it if you married. I don't suggest you exercise that if you got younger kids. I'm just saying, do what you want. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. You can do that in this chat. You can pop all that shit. So you can say it in here. I say what I want as you peek out the window and make sure your wife and kids not pulling up yet from school. Yeah, you can pop that shit. We'll believe you for 15 minutes. Yeah. But however it goes, guess who's back? This guy. This guy's back. And now the question is, Maureen Parker says, presidents have always dealt with comedians and news that they didn't like. Trump is pathetic. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now I tell you my position, not that anybody cares, and I know nobody cares what I say, it's just that I have the mic. I'm clear on that. Check it out. It's just my live. No, who cares what I say? I never even watched Jimmie Kimmel. I didn't think he was that funny. That doesn't mean he wasn't funny. That's my comedy. That's me. That's me saying that. It has nothing to do with him being funny. I'm just giving you my little situation. Uh-oh, I hear somebody moving the mic or something. Hold on. Let's check on the White House now. They still ain't out there. We right there. There go the White House right there. Everybody relax. Everybody just relax. White House right there. We waiting for the peoples to come out. But I promise you this, I bet anybody this. I put money on this. When they come out, RFK Jr., the president, whoever, when the press can't wait till they finish talking about autism, then the press will do their fake version of wanting to know, oh, that's amazing, that's great. You guys found out some information that parents will really be able to use, and oh man, it adds so much clarity to parents, and especially mothers throughout the country and maybe throughout the world or whatever like that. And right after that, what y'all think the first question gonna be? Oh, yeah. I know it's been fast and it's been quick. Did you hear that Jimmie Kimmel is back? See, I'm like this. I didn't vote for Trump, but I ain't mad at everything he did. I agree with some things that he's done. I disagree with some things that he hasn't done. That's the reality of it. I do. I'm not a all or nothing person. It's not binary for me. It's either trash or it's useful. Why can't some of it be trash? Why can't some of it be useful? Why can't I like or support some of the things he done and not support the other things that he done? That's how I am with Trump. That's why when people sit there and, y'all want to play a nice game on somebody that's so extreme with the binary stuff. Binary meaning they all the way in or all the way off, right? Here's one for you, right? I've done this before, and I'm telling you, I'm black and I'm mixed, but I'm black. I've lived the black life, right? All right. So sometimes when I'm talking to guys, this was years ago. This is like 20 years ago because I'm an OG, right? And I'm telling them about information. They say, "Oh man, that's that European structure, or that's some white dude," right? So what I did, like I said, this is about 20 years ago, right? I start presenting information like this. Man, I was checking out this scholar from Africa. I forget his name. And he was saying this, that, and that. And here's the amazing part. Y'all want to hear something crazy? The dudes immediately start big upping what I said and whatever that theory or model was I presented about their subject matter. If I let it off with, I was reading some work by this scholar from Africa, but it was a lie. I was lying, and I told them that. I said, "Man, you know why I did that? Why you did? Because the minute you knew they was European or white, you discounted everything. When I said I read this from an African scholar, you didn't research it. You just supported it and said it must be right. Now, that's fine for people. I don't think that way. I don't study that way. I don't give a damn if you're Eskimo, it's from here, you from Africa, you from Europe and all that, right? I got my way that I learned. This idea that by default, if it's white is right, ain't no way. This idea that by default, if it's from Africa is real and is original, that don't make sense to me. It just never did. None of that stuff makes sense to me. It works for people though, and that's just a binary way of thinking. People are all in or all out. When it comes to Trump, or anybody, even my parents, when they were alive, I was never all in with my parents. Did I love them? Of course I did. Was I all in terms of everything my father did was right and everything my mother did was right and everything my pastor did was right? Hell fucking no. I'm not that slow. So that's why I say sometimes, man, you go to the restaurant, you don't order the number 5. You don't order the this, that. You go what? You go a la carte, man. Yeah, you go a la carte and still enjoy yourself. That's all. What is that? All right, let me get this up. Hold up. I'm trying to find. Nope, that's not it. Dang, what did I do? I lost it. Now, our president, President Trump, like it, love it, or leave it, is probably going to make a great announcement about autism, and I'm glad. I am glad. I know people, kids suffer from it. Maybe I had it when I was born. I don't know how you understand how it works, but I know this much. The mothers, the parents. Let me slide Jimmy down here, and let me give our president some respect. and put his image up here. I just, let me see. Here we go. Bring this down a little bit. I just keep it respectful, man. That's my thing. I ain't got to like the man. I ain't got to be all in with everything. I ain't all in with my girl, my woman. For what? Nah, man. Now, do we have to be, have some finesse? Do we have to be craftful about the way that we express things, the way that we talk about things? Hold up, Denise Gordon. Hold up, let me do this. So Denise Gordon says, Jimmie Kimmel is funny. I watch his show only for the monologue because I like his point of view. Every comedian in late night has been grateful for the stupidity of the Trump for the past 10 years. That's the other part, right? People say what they want. Comedians, reporters, YouTubers like myself, content creators, whoever. Man, everybody been getting the full plate with Trump. Seriously. I've said this, and I'll say it again. Whatever president come after Trump, he got a tough act to follow. He got a tough act to follow. Because if not, they're going to start laying off people, man. Why are they going to start laying off people? Man, you know what I mean? People careers is jumping in network and media, content creation, comedians on TV, and other people in different channels and modes of media and communication and entertainment because of the President Trump. Seriously. Could you imagine if President Biden was our president right now? Could you imagine that? We would hardly ever hear him speak. It would be scripted. It would be scripted, rehearsed. But Trump, man, Trump give it to you off the dome. Yeah, he got some bullet points. He got some speaking points. But Trump, it's like people say what they want, man, but he done made the ride easy for a lot of people. Seriously. Look at this guy here, anonymously. Check it out. Anonymously says, why is it always the dumbest people that need to make a stream? So I guess he's talking about me, which is not a problem. See, I don't have a problem with people calling me names. I just don't want anybody attacking each other on here. That's all. And then Anonymous comes back and says, this guy's better than Jimmie Kimmel. Key. I got nothing to say, but I need to talk. Key. And there's some truth in that. Why? Because we sitting here waiting for, they said they was going to come out at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and it's 10:05 Eastern time. So we waiting on the president and RFK Jr. to come out. So, yeah, some of this is just killing time, man. So there's some truth to that. But I do appreciate that you can't, you enjoying the stream. That's the irony of it. That's the irony of it. That's why it's not a thing. I don't take that stuff personal. Because the irony of it is people all the time, they jump on my lives and they say, oh, you fucking idiot. You don't even know what you're talking about. So if they just say that and I never see them in the lives again, I'm like, oh, damn. I just lost a potential person that come to my live stream or subscribe to my channel. I look at it like that. But the irony is when they stay in there and I'm the dummy and I ain't got nothing to say and they can't leave. Think about it. What's the logic, right? Somebody give me the, I know we got some social scientists, behaviorists, and psychologists out there. Somebody give me the logic that somebody comes in your chat. They call you a dummy, call you an idiot, you ain't got nothing to say, you ain't nothing. And then they keep commenting and they can't leave it. Who can't leave a dummy's stream? Who can't leave a live where the people ain't got nothing to say? Who can't leave where the streamer is admitting, I'm just killing time waiting for people at the White House to pop out and go to the podium? I'm all in with what he say. I agree totally. But now I need somebody to speak for his behavior. I need somebody to speak for that. All right, Jimmie Kimmel is back on TV. Hey, you sick of seeing it? Don't even worry about it. I show it to you one more time anyway. I'm back on ABC. He will be airing tomorrow night, Tuesday. Yes, he will. He will be airing. And of course, hold up. What did I? Oh, snap. I done missed the whole. Hold up.
Well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol. During pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire, and you shouldn't give the child a Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all, but if you have to, if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. The other thing that I can tell you that I'll say that they will maybe say at a little bit later date, but I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. Take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies, it's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And you know it's artificially induced. It's not like something that, when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and all the three should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate, because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, oh, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country. The FDA will be updating the label of an existing drug to reflect potential benefits in reducing some autism symptoms. This gives hope to the many parents with autistic children that it may be possible to improve their lives. That's one of the things that I'm very, very happy about. I mean, this was mostly going to be on how not to have the child affected, but we've learned some pretty good things about certain elements of genius that can be given to a baby, and the baby can get better. And in some cases, maybe substantially better. Not going to be easy, but be a lot easier if it didn't happen in the first place, as these great parents fully understand, right? They fully understand. I feel so terribly for. I have so many friends with autistic children. It's a tough situation. Finally, to help reach the ultimate goal of ending the autism fever, the NIH will be announcing 13 major grant awards from the Autism Data Science Initiatives. And to be honest with you, to me, that's the least important. It's not even a money thing at this point. There's so much money, but they have to do, and they have to move quickly. When the alternative is that nothing bad can happen, let's do it now. I was just saying to Bobby and the group, let's do it now. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one, because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad. So I'd like to ask Bobby to get up to the podium and say a few words, and then Dr. Bhattacharya and Dr. McCary, Dr. Oz, Dr. Fink, followed by two incredible mothers that have experienced firsthand what this country is going through, what parts of the world are going through. And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one. And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have autism. That tells you a lot. And I want to say it right now. And you know, the way I look at it, don't take it. Don't take it. There's no downside in not taking it. So I'd like to ask Bobby to come up and say a few words. I hope I didn't ruin his day, but that's the way I feel. I've been very strong on this subject for a long time. You know, life is common sense, too. And there's a lot of common sense in this, and I wish things like this were brought up, and this group has worked so hard on it, but I'd like to be a little bit more, a little speedier in the process of a recommendation, because there's no harm in going quicker. There's absolutely no harm. At worst, there's no harm. Thank you very much, Bobby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. To meet the President's challenge, I ordered HHS to launch an unprecedented all-agency effort to identify all causes of autism, including toxic and pharmaceutical exposures. At President Trump's urging, NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS are turning over every stone to identify the etiology of the autism epidemic and how patients and parents can prevent and reverse this alarming trend. We have broken down the traditional silos that have long separated these agencies, and we have fast-tracked research and guidance. Historically, NIH has focused almost solely on politically safe and entirely fruitless research about the genetic drivers of autism. And that would be like studying the genetic drivers of lung cancer without looking at cigarettes. And that's what NIH has been doing for 20 years. As a result, we don't have an answer to this critical question, despite the cataclysmic impact of the epidemic on our nation's children. We are now replacing the institutional culture of politicized science and corruption with evidence-based medicine. NIH research teams are currently testing multiple hypotheses with no area off limits. We promise transparency as we uncover the potential causes and treatments, and we will notify the public regularly of our progress. Today, we are announcing two important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required. Furthermore, thanks to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism. We have also identified an exciting therapy that may benefit large numbers of children who suffer from autism. Peer-reviewed literature has documented that up to 60% of folate-deficient children with ASD can have improved verbal communications if given leucovorin. I have instructed NIH, FDA, and CMS to help doctors treat children appropriately. Jay will help tell that story, which started with sound science, the kind that restores faith in government. This announcement also represents a historic collaboration between NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS. We expect this to be the first of many announcements over the coming years. that deliver actionable information to parents on underlying cause of autism and the potential paths for prevention and reversal. Autism is a complex disorder with multifactorial etiology. We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say that we should believe all women. But some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades. Because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past, it will take time for an honest look at this topic by scientists. But I want to reassure the people in the autism community that we will be uncompromising and relentless in our search for answers. We will perform the studies that should have been performed 25 years ago. Whatever the answer is, we will tell you what we find. We are researching this issue to all 3 agencies. Jay will discuss one of our research initiatives at NIH. This model of unleashing unbiased, depoliticized, gold standard scientific research and academic freedom to deliver actionable information to prevent and reverse disease will be a model for the framework to deliver similar results for many other chronic conditions that plague Americans. Jay?
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy, and thank you, President Trump.
Thank you very much.
I'm proud to announce today that the NIH has launched the Autism Data Science Initiative to turbocharge autism research, devoting an additional $50 million to the cause of studying autism. Nearly 250 research teams from across the country applied, sent in their applications, and were peer-reviewed by the NIH review panels. The NIH peer reviewers chose the 13 best projects focused on root causes and therapies, with replication and validation studies to guarantee gold standard science. The studies feature a new kind of science called exposomics, where scientists consider environmental and medical factors, nutrition, events during pregnancy, in combination with biology and genetics to answer vital questions about autism. Science like this, conducted in partnership with families and physicians, is the best way to arrest and reverse the autism epidemic. Autism spectrum disorder encompasses a very wide range of symptoms, ranging from mild difficulties with social interactions to profoundly autistic children who experience severe disabilities in speech and behavior. Given this wide range of symptoms across the spectrum, it seems certain that there will be a wide range of biological contributors to explaining the cause. The great thing about the new NIH initiative on autism is that scientists will use rigorous advanced methods in causal inference, machine learning, organoids, and other fresh approaches to the problem. The sharp rise in the prevalence of autism deserves an urgent response by the scientific community. As Bobby said, the NIH has invested a lot of money to study autism over the years, but the research has not produced the answers that families and parents of autistic children deserve, and autistic children themselves deserve. For too long, it's been taboo to ask some questions for fear that scientific work might reveal a politically incorrect answer. Because of this restricted focus in scientific investigations, the answers for families have been similarly restricted, often pointing families to behavioral therapies that don't work for every kid, or suggest non-modifiable genetic factors as the cause. But genetics alone can't explain such a sharp rise in autism prevalence over just a few decades, as the president said. In coming months and years, as NIH scientists learn more that can help autistic children and their families, we won't delay. Like scientists often like to do, I can say as a scientist myself, it's really tempting to delay, but but in face of a problem like this, you have to move fast. But we will not delay before telling American people about what we find, and we will win the public trust with transparency and rigor. Already, our broadened focus on autism research has pointed to 2 items that will help families prevent and treat some cases of autism. I'll leave the good news on these 2 items to my close friends and colleagues, Dr. McCary and Dr. Oz. We've been working together closely on this problem for the past 6 months, and our cooperation represents an unprecedented collaboration with Secretary Kennedy's Department of Health and Human Services and with President Trump. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Marty McCary, Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, who will tell you about these announcements of practical help for families with autism.
Great, thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Mr. President, this is the start of a historic shift in medical culture. This administration is working together to ask big questions about why our nation's children are getting sick so fast. Too often, medicine is doing small little studies, giving us answers we already knew. But we've got to make a difference. You've given us a charge to identify root causes, and we are not going to stop so that we can end the suffering we are watching. And if you've seen a kid with autism, with severe autism, it's hard to watch. Kids get frustrated, they get angry, they can be crying because they want to speak and they can't speak. It's hard to watch, and it may be entirely preventable. For an epidemiologist, that child is an expanding statistic, but for a child, it can be brutal to have autism. Today, the FDA is taking action to update the label on acetaminophen and sending a letter to all U.S. doctors letting them know about the risks in pregnancy. We now have data we cannot ignore. There's a very large study, the Boston Birth Cohort, with researchers that have, from Johns Hopkins, my former institution, and Boston University, found quote-unquote consistent associations between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism. And the Nurses' Health Study with researchers from Yale, Columbia, and Harvard looking at 9,000 kids found that acetaminophen use in pregnancy was associated with neurodevelopmental disorders. And 4 weeks ago, a Mount Sinai Harvard study reviewed all the existing literature and found the overwhelming body of evidence points to an association. Sure, you'll be able to find a study to the contrary. That's how science works. But to quote the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We cannot wait any longer. And honestly, there's been this perfunctory, reactionary, mindless practice in medicine. I learned it in medical school and residency. Just treat all fevers, low-grade fevers, treat them with acetaminophen. Why? What are we doing? A study out of Hopkins actually showed that treating a fever can prolong the duration of illness in a young kid. Maybe that's because a fever is a body's natural way of ridding an infection. When my wife was pregnant and delivered our son a few months ago, they pushed her to take acetaminophen for a low-grade fever. She said no, and then they looked to me and I said, absolutely no. I'm also here to announce good news. Today, the FDA is filing a Federal Register notice to change the label on an exciting treatment called prescription leucovorin so that it can be available to children with autism. You know, autism may also be due to an autoimmune reaction to a folate receptor on the brain, not allowing that important vitamin to get into the brain cells. It's a fairly established, mature pathway. Again, we have a duty to let doctors and the public know we are going to change the label to make it available. Hundreds of thousands of kids, in my opinion, will benefit. One study found that with kids with autism and chronic folate deficiency, 2/3 of kids with autism symptoms had improvement, and some marked improvement. Mr. President, you told us to do what's medically right, to go bold, and not worry about the corporations and the lobbyists. So that's what we're here doing today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Marty. I think you all appreciate the passion in the president's voice. We've been hearing that since the inauguration. In fact, even before the inauguration, the president was upset about what he spoke to today. And so together with Secretary Kennedy, who's made it his life's work to address some of these challenges with autism, they challenged us. In fact, they were harsher than that. They wanted no silos to break down what the NIH would do, what the FDA would do, what CMS would do. They insisted that the physician leaders bust through the clutter because their agencies had the power. If we didn't do what every other prior administration had done, which is to let people function within their siloed environments. Because of that, in historic fashion and a very accelerated manner, we have a response today to the autism crisis. It is the first of several chapters, but this is breaking news. You've heard some of it. The response to the autism crisis is going to continue to come to you under Secretary Kennedy's leadership, and the president wouldn't have it any other way, as you've heard. The FDA, based on NIH research, is approving prescription leucovorin for treatment of autistic children. Now, if you're following the script, there should be two questions that you have, two questions that should come to your mind. The first is, how will patients and parents get access to the treatment? I'll tell you how. Over half of American children are covered by Medicaid and CHIP, government health insurance, over half. And therefore, because they're covered in Medicaid and CHIP, upon this label change by Marty, state Medicaid programs in partnership with CMS will cover prescription leucovorin around the country. It's yours, but you have to go to a doctor to get a prescription because they know your child, they know you, and they know the medication. States will also have tools to monitor its use and ensure appropriate utilization. That's important for a bunch of reasons because we want the right kids getting the right prescription medications. We believe private insurance companies will rapidly follow our lead if they have not already done so. And again, to make sure that this is safe and effective treatment, you need a physician to prescribe the medication because it's on prescription. Second big question. How are we going to collect clinical data to answer the big questions that the president is asking and the secretary insists that we offer? CMS is also issuing guidance to convene states and existing research networks to support NIH and FDA in their research efforts of prescription leucovorin, while also maintaining the privacy of all patients, all health information of our beneficiaries. Collecting real-world data, which is what many of you have been asking us to do in the community, is fast, it is life-saving, and we'll get answers based on what happens over the next few months with this approach. The aggressive approach, and it is aggressive, demanded by the president and by the secretary, have already identified risk factors and opened the door for the first FDA-recognized treatment pathway for autism. It is the first of its kind, and it wouldn't have happened without the leadership of the president and the secretary. The five-fold increased prevalence of autism over the past 25 years demands a rapid response. The average clinician, researcher, we spoke to many, thought it would take 5 years to get this data. Parents are unwilling to wait 5 years. The president is unwilling to wait 5 years for these results. So the president and the secretary are acting today with this tri-agency move. The administration's bold actions investing in groundbreaking research follow the science, they restore trust, which has been lacking, and they will change the trajectory for millions of American families. Mr. President, God bless you for being brave. So let me introduce Dr. Fink, who's acting administrator, and after Dr. Fink, we've got some wonderful women, Jackie and Amanda. I know it's going to be tough, but if you can make some comments about this historic day, God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to speak with all of you today. As a pediatrician and mom, I'm here today to talk about what this announcement means for the millions of moms and dads who are faced with the choice of whether to take acetaminophen during pregnancy. It's hard to hear information that challenges the status quo. We are sharing this information not to confuse, but to empower parents to make the best choices when taking medications during pregnancy. We are all concerned about the rising rates of neurodevelopmental disorders, including autism. President Trump and Secretary Kennedy are dedicated to radical transparency so that patients have the best, most up-to-date information. We are also sharing this information with our nation's doctors, and we encourage you, as always, to consult with your doctor to make the best decision for you. All too often, it's easy to think that medicines we buy without a prescription pose little to no risk for the mom or the baby. As you heard today, pregnant women who need high fever or pain reduction during pregnancy should take the lowest effective dose of acetaminophen for the shortest possible duration. Most women will not meet these indications during their pregnancies. I am encouraged by these developments today because it is another example of our commitment to the American people to leave no stone unturned in improving the health of our nation's children. Next, I'm going to turn it over to some incredible mothers who are going to share more about their stories, and we're so grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President and team, for all your work. This is an historic day, and I'm thankful to be here. I have a son who's 5 who is profoundly autistic. And you've probably heard if you've met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child. It's a spectrum, which I don't think the spectrum is helpful, but that's another conversation. He is an amazing little boy, a blessing from God. He's marvelous. He can count to 1,000. He knows all of his letters and the sounds they make and a word for each one. But he also has a lot of obstacles. He is nonverbal. He can say those numbers and letters, but there's no communication. Unless you've lived with profound autism, you have no idea. You have no idea. He, like you said, he will get frustrated because he can't speak. It's not even that he can't speak. Sometimes he just doesn't understand what I'm saying. He understands the word no, but he doesn't understand the why behind the no. And that's a huge part of discipline. That's the discipline. So it's very hard to discipline a child with autism so you have these behaviors. And it's a very hopeless feeling. It's very isolating being a parent with a profound autistic child. Even just taking them over to your friend's house is something we just don't do because, again, they're going to be met with no, and no understanding of why. And then there's a meltdown. And then you're in a situation where you're just helpless and you're just trying to protect your kid. So it's just better not to do it. You learn your limits, and it's been really hard. This is amazing that we're here today. And no one has been able to point to anything to say this is what caused it. And you can't point to that and say it didn't cause it. I have no idea. I am completely open, not blaming anything, but I'm open to the discussion and the fact that there's work being done to find answers. I'm very grateful. I was already excited to vote for Mr. Trump anyway, Mr. President. But when we got word of RFK doing his work, I was ecstatic. I could not wait for this work to be done, that somebody would try to find us some answers. I'm just very grateful. I pray for my son every day and hope that he can get the help that he needs. And just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Connie. You take care of yourself. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jackie. I'm also extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here and share my son's story. My son is Eddie. He's 11. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum from what Amanda just explained. He's considered high functioning. He was not always high functioning. He was nonverbal till the age 4. We've had quite a hard time to get to the place where we are today. I am just so grateful to President Trump and the entire administration for finally listening to moms who have been crying out for help, for answers for years. I've met so many other moms with children on the spectrum in the 9 years since my son's diagnosis, and they all have very similar stories, and they've all just wanted somebody to listen, to not ridicule them or look at them like they were the crazy people. It's hard when you don't have doctors that take the time to really listen and find out when the change happened and what change happened. And it's just, I've been praying for this day for 9 years, and I'm so thankful to God for bringing the administration into our lives. And I'm speechless. This day is a day I never thought would happen. I thought that we would never have an administration that was courageous enough to look into things that no prior administration had. So I'm just here to express my gratitude, and I am looking forward to what comes from this, and hopefully we just get more answers. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So I just want to say acetaminophen is basically Tylenol, essentially, because I noticed that term is used throughout this conference. So it's essentially Tylenol. And I just recommend strongly that you don't use Tylenol unless it's absolutely necessary. I understand it's maybe 10% of the women that are pregnant are, would perhaps be forced to use it. And that would mean, you just can't tough it out. No matter what you do, you can't tough it out. So that's up to you and your doctor. But this is a very strong recommendation, maybe stronger from me than from the group, because they're waiting for certain studies. I just want to say, I want to say it like it is. Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. If you just can't, I mean, it's fight like hell not to take it. There may be a point where you have to, and that you have to work out with yourself. So don't take Tylenol. Other things that we recommend, or certainly I do anyway, is, and it's so important to me to see the doctor 4 times or 5 times for a vaccine. Don't let them pump your baby up with the largest pile of stuff you've ever seen in your life going into the delicate little body of a baby. Even if it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you just break it up into, I would say 5, but let's say 4 visits to the doctor instead of 1. And certain things I think you should do. We've already taken out and are in the process of taking out mercury and aluminum now. You know what mercury is, you know what aluminum is. Who the hell wants that pumped into a body? And there were rumors about both of them for a long time, but we're having them taken out. We're having them taken out of the vaccines. Hepatitis B, again, that's sexually transmitted, and we think you should wait. I think you should wait till 12. You know, I'm making these statements from me. I'm not making them from these doctors, because when they talk about, you know, different results, different studies, I talk about a lot of common sense, and they have that too. They have that too, a lot. But I recommend the hepatitis B. Take it at 12. Sexually transmitted. You don't have to give it to the baby when the baby's 2 years old. And there are a lot of theories on that, but not when they're 12. Doesn't seem to be a problem at all. The MMR and the chickenpox. Chickenpox has already been broken out. It's a singular shot. But the MMR is not. And I've heard for years that there's a problem with it. But they say that there's no problem if you do each shot separately, not put together. So an MMR, go out and do it separately. Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby after the baby's born. Every time the baby gets a shot, the baby gets a shot. They say, here, take a cup of Tylenol. I've heard that for years. Take Tylenol. Don't take Tylenol. Don't have your baby take Tylenol. Now, Tylenol is fine for people that aren't pregnant, that aren't in the situation that we're talking about. One very specific situation. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. When you have your baby, don't give your baby Tylenol at all, unless it's absolutely necessary. Don't do it. Break up your visits to the doctors. Break them up. Do it in 5 if you can. Now, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. Oh, you're going to have to go back another year later. You're going to go back each year for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years. Just break it up. Break it up, because it's too much liquid. Too many different things are going into that baby at too big a number. The size of this thing, when you look at it, it's like 80 different vaccines and beyond vaccines, and 80. Then you give that to a little kid. I mean, I can tell you that I had a woman who worked for me, a beautiful, wonderful woman, worked in Trump Tower, and she had the most perfect child, beautiful, just perfect. And I remember this little blonde-haired boy running around the lobby of Trump Tower, so healthy and so vibrant. And I said, that's great. One day I came in and she was crying, her eyes out, behind the counter. She worked at the front desk. She was crying her eyes out. I've never, as much as I've ever seen anyone distraught, she was. I said, are you okay? What happened? My boy, I've lost my boy. What does that mean, your boy? My boy, you know him, sir. You've seen him grow up. He was so beautiful. And I took him for a vaccine, sir. And he developed this unbelievable, I think she said 107, 108. You know, it goes well beyond when this happens. It goes up to 106, 107, 108. You know, we hear 105 and you're in trouble, but it just goes up to a level that you never hear about, but it goes up very high. And it's fried. They get fried. She said, I took him, he developed an unbelievable temperature. And I've lost him, sir. He's gone. And then I saw the boy. It was so tragic to see. That was the following day. That was the following day after the vaccine. And I've seen it 2 other times, and I think 3 other times, but 2 other times, where they go to the doctor and they get the vaccine, they get the shot. The kid is, badly hurt. Let's be nice, badly hurt. And just do it. Break it up into 5, break it up into 4, break it up into 3 if you have to, but go to the doctor 4 times instead of once, or 5 times instead of once. And for some reason, they insist that you put it all into the body, and maybe that's the drug companies that make more money that way. Maybe it's the doctors because they don't want to be, doing this so much. Maybe it's the doctors. They get maybe more money. Who the hell knows what it is? Don't do it. Get them broken into 4 or 5 visits. Do it 4 or 5. That means you have 20%, 25% what you're putting into the baby's body. It can only help. It can only help. And the other things I told you about, just the word tough it out. It's easy for me to say tough it out, but sometimes in life with a lot of other things, you have to tough it out also. Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby. When the baby's born, they throw it at you. Here, give them a couple of Tylenol. They give them a shot. They give them a vaccine. And every time they give them a vaccine, they're throwing Tylenol. And some of these babies, they're long born, and all of a sudden they're gone. And it doesn't hurt not to do it. It doesn't hurt. There's no downside. There's no downside at all. And break up MMR. Break it up. It's practically a known fact that if you break it up, you're not going to have a problem. But for years, we've been hearing how bad MMR is as a combination. And I'm very happy that you broke out chickenpox, because that was really a problem. And there are other things. It's interesting because there are other things, we were talking about it, other different drugs, pills that you take that we know are so bad and they don't take them anymore. But for some reason, with this, they keep taking it. Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. You'll be uncomfortable. It won't be as easy, maybe, but don't take it. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. And don't give it to the baby after the baby is born. And we have more than 3 years left. And I told Bobby and the doctors behind me, and they are so committed to this, I told them that this is the number one thing I want to do from you. And we have something else called Favored Nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,000%, by 900, 600, 500, 1,200. We're going to be reducing drug prices at levels never seen. It's called Favored Nations. We're going to be paying what right now, we're like the garbage can for the rest of the world, and we have been for forever. We pay much higher for drugs than the rest of the world. We subsidize the rest of the world. We're not doing that anymore. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. That's bigger than anything. I told the story the other night that I was so proud in my first term that for the final year, drug prices went down 0.25%. And I was so proud. I said, why? I'm the first one to do it. I think it was 28 years, they said, where drug prices went down from the beginning of the term to the end. And I was so proud. I called a news conference. I said, drug prices have gone down. First time it's happened in 28 years. You know what it was? 0.25%. I was so proud. Now we're going to have them go down from $100 a pill to $9 a pill. From $1,300 for a shot of like an Ozempic, or I call it the fat pill, or the fat drug. Sometimes it works, I guess, for people. The ones I've seen, it hasn't worked so well. I got a lot of friends that have fat. They said, I lost some weight. I said, you don't look it to me. But they paid $1,300, $1,200, and they go to London and they pay $88. And they call me, they go, what's this all about? we're subsidizing the rest of the world stupidly because there are a lot of stupid people in this country running things. And how big is that? But to me, that's nothing compared to autism. I see that gorgeous boy. I have a big present for him in the back. You know, you bring him back. We're going to bring him into the Oval Office. I have the best present he's ever going to get, okay? A big one. I saved it for you, okay? Because I heard you were coming. Look how beautiful he is. So that's it. There's nothing much to say. Don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant, and don't give Tylenol to your child when he's born or she's born. Don't give it. Just don't give it. And we're going to have, I think, really, if you do all the things that I say, break it up. Just break it up. Break up the shots with the doctor. MMRs, as I told you, separate. Chickenpox already separate. You do these things. I'm telling you, I want to, when I leave office, I don't want to have, it's going to be the kind of number that we're hearing where it's 1 in 32 or 1 in 10, because I've heard 1 in 10 also. And in California, it's really bad. I want it to be, let's get it back to maybe 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 or maybe none in 20,000. And the only way you're going to do that, because this is artificially induced. This is induced by something. You don't go from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000, then to 1 in 10. That means you're taking something and something's wrong. And I feel very certain, and I know I'll be criticized. Someday they'll look back and they'll say, well, it wasn't, but I think it will. I think we're going to have a tremendous, this is the most important thing. There's nothing more important than me. We cured inflation that Biden gave us. He gave us so much inflation, the biggest ever in history. We got inflation done. We brought prices down. We gave you the largest tax cuts, all that stuff. It doesn't mean a thing compared to what we're doing today. This means everything. So we're going to save a lot of children from a tough life, really tough life. We're going to save a lot of parents from a tough life. Okay, how about a few questions? Let's just make it on this subject. This is so beyond as a subject that I'd rather not talk about, some nonsense on the economy. And I will say this, the economy is unbelievable. The stock market just hit another record high and all that stuff. This means more to me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I have one on your announcement, one on vaccines that's also related.
Yes.
Why do you think we haven't heard more previously about the tie to autism and acetaminophen?
Nobody knows. I don't know. Not only that, when you say it, you get attacked. I was saying something similar, not as strongly, because now facts are on our side. But I was saying it with Bobby 20 years ago, and I was attacked. I said, whoa, what was that all about? I had no idea. You get attacked. I don't know. The medical community, the drug companies, doctors, I don't know what it is. All I want to do, I don't care about being attacked. It doesn't matter to me. I believe that the numbers at the end of our term or shortly thereafter could be really phenomenal. I want it to go up just like it came down to this horrible level. 1 in 10, 1 in 12. I was told 1 in 10. I was told 1 in 12. Today I heard 1 in 31 if you add the girls and the boys together. It's crazy. And it was 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 20,000. It's not even sustainable for a country, you want to know the truth. And there are other places that don't have it. And they have things in common. And that's called medical research. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I'm curious as you look at the trend lines,
yeah,
how much of this is the causation of acetaminophen and how much is sort of better diagnosis, doctors, researchers having a better understanding of what is on the autism spectrum?
Do you want to do that? Sure, go ahead.
That's one of the canards that has been promoted by the industry for many years, that it's changed diagnostic criteria, better recognition. But there's been study after study done of that completely debunks that. One of them by the Mind Institute at UC Davis, University of California. But also it's just common sense, because you're only seeing this in people who are under 50 years of age. If it were better recognition or diagnosis, you'd see it in 70-year-old men. I've never seen this happening in people my age, I've never seen a case of full-blown autism, and that means profound autism. I want to be very careful. Head banging, stimming, toe walking, nonverbal, non-toilet trained. I've never in my life seen a 70-year-old man who looks like that. You're only seeing it in the kids. It's an epidemic.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping that you could clear up confusion for moms and dads across America, many of whom voted for you. There's a statement that was put out by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and in their statement, they write, Acetaminophen remains a safe, trusted option for pain relief during pregnancy, and that's at odds with what you said and with what many of the experts say. How do you clear up this confusion?
That's the establishment. They're funded by lots of different groups. And you know what? Maybe they're right. I don't think they are, because I don't think the facts bear it out at all. They're fighting for something that, in my opinion, they shouldn't be fighting for. But here's the thing. There's no downside to doing, other than a mother will have to, as I say, tough it out a little bit. There's no downside to doing this. It's not like, oh, if you do this, you're going to die. There's no downside. There's no downside to going over a 4-year or a 5-year period or a 3-year period, or even if you space them out for 6 months, you space it out. There's no downside. And that's why I will say the gentleman behind me, they have very strong views and they feel that we're right, but they'll have more research done over the next 2 months. I said, well, 2 months is a long time. A lot of people can be saved, and there's no downside to doing it. Everything I said, there's no downside to doing it. It can only be good. And I think you're going to see very good results. That's establishment stuff, and we've been reading that about a lot of things for years. And you know what's happened? We've gone from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 32 to 1 in 10. Think of it. 1 in 10 or 12 or 1 in 31. Think of it. 1 in 31 people, young kids, get autism? What is it, Jeff?
My question is about leucovorin. You mentioned that as part of your plan. That is also a chemotherapy treatment. Have you been in touch with the drug companies to increase production about that? And just, I'm going to throw in my follow-up at the same time. Dr. Oz mentioned that this will be available with CHIP, children who are on CHIP. But the big beautiful bill reduced funding for CHIP and Medicaid by $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Are you concerned that that will impact your ability to get this drug out?
I'll explain it to you in a second, but please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leucovorin is not a chemotherapy, but it is a vitamin given with chemotherapy sometimes. And the idea here is that the folic acid receptor in the brain is blocked by some antibody response. It might be 20, 40, 50% of kids with autism. And leucovorin will bypass that blocked receptor. And that's why so many doctors are probably seeing so much clinical improvement on kids with leucovorin.
So are you going to increase production?
Yeah, we've been in touch with the companies, and they are prepared to ramp up production. And we actually talked to them about a month ago.
And on your second part of your nasty question, the number is that the great big beautiful bill, which is the greatest, I think one of the best things ever passed in the history, with the tax cuts and regulation cuts and all of the things it does, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, all of it does. It also gives $200 million, as just explained by Dr. Oz, and I'd like you to explain that, to exactly what you're saying.
The Big Beautiful Bill actually increases Medicaid spending projected over the next 10 years by $200 billion. There's also a $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund, which will allow a lot of these programs to get in the rural parts of the country that the President and Congress are handing to governors to start distributing. Those grants have already gone out. The money will be allocated by the end of this calendar year. And I want to point out that the ability of NIH to do research that feeds and hands the ball to the FDA, which then can change labeling to allow Medicaid programs in states to fund this program, will ensure that the things that President Trump and Secretary Kennedy desire are financially affordable for the families around America.
You mentioned CHIP, sir. That's why I asked that question. You mentioned that CHIP would fund this for children.
Well, most of the kids are on Medicaid, probably 43% on Medicaid, another 8-10% on CHIP, and all the programs in general are being evaluated. Most of what the One Big Beautiful Bill was seeking to do was to remove fraud, waste, and abuse. But the programs themselves should stay financially intact for the people for whom they were designed, and in this case, for children.
And the only thing we cut, so that's $200 billion positive. The only thing we cut was for fraud, waste, and abuse, of which there was a lot in this country, and nobody minds that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you said that there is no reason to give newborn babies hepatitis B vaccines. But hepatitis B can be contracted not just through sexually transmitted diseases, it can come from needles to open wounds. So when you say you feel, is that appropriate to be telling?
I think it's absolutely appropriate. I think they should wait till they're 12 years old. Yes, please.
Mr. President, thank you all for being here. You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines. Would you like other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out like MMRV?
What is this again?
You've been talking...
Speak up, please.
Sir. You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines.
Right, correct.
Would you like the other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out like MMRV?
I would say yes, but that just is, for me, it's a lot of common sense involved in this. It's a process, but we're looking, but it should at least be given separately. Now, it's possible that you can reduce them and I'd give them in small doses, but it's possible maybe in that particular case, the MMR wouldn't work in small doses, but you can certainly give them as separate shots. It's been proven to be very safe when you give them in separate shots instead of mixing. So I don't think there's any reason to do that. Do you agree with it? I'm not a doctor, but I'm giving my opinion. I don't think there's any reason to do that. So it's been proven to be safe when you break them up. But MMR by itself, I've heard bad things about it for many years. Yes, please.
Mr. President, is the spectrum too broad, in your opinion? For research purposes, you are dealing with a population of children who might have social boundary difficulties, and then you have children who are, going to grow up to be adults in diapers. I mean, what do you think?
We don't know how broad the spectrum is. We don't know exactly where it starts and where it ends, but we do know what we're going through. We're going through some very serious trouble, and we know autism. I mean, it could be bigger, it could be small, a little bit smaller, but the number is unacceptable. And the number, the way it's come down, because the spectrums remain the same, the number, the way it's come down is just unacceptable, meaning come down to that level of 1 in 10, 1 in 12, 1 in 31.
Mr. President, medical professionals.
Go ahead, in the back.
Mr. President, this question is more directed towards Secretary Kennedy. It was talked about that we're just kind of finding out about the fact that babies are affected this way. Is there a concern that information is being suppressed right now within HHS, and could an investigation perhaps be launched seeing any more?
Well, I think information has been really not given out very freely over the years, absolutely. And I think that's by drug companies and maybe doctors, but I certainly think that over the years. I think this is a different group. We have a lot of information. And that information, I mean, it's the information that we have that we're making these statements. And I'm making them out front, and I'm making them loud, and I'm making them strongly not to take Tylenol, not to take it. Just don't take it unless it's absolutely necessary, and there's not too many cases where that will be the case. And again, what's the worst? The worst is nothing can happen. It's very positive. That's a positive thing. But I don't believe I don't actually believe that's possible. I think the results are going to be amazing. I want to see amazing results by the time I leave this beautiful building. And I will consider this, I believe, with the wars, I've stopped 7 different wars. I've saved millions of lives. I've done a lot of things. This will be as important as any single thing I've done, because I know ladies, beautiful ladies just like this that are going through the same thing, and it's not easy, and I admire you for being able to do it. But I admire him too. I wish I had a face that looked like that. If I looked like him, I would have been president a long time ago.
Widely used in other countries too. As you make this announcement, do you expect your decision may affect
I hope they follow it, yeah. I hope they follow it. Yeah, other countries are, sell Tylenol. Some countries don't. I mean, I hear Cuba, now, again, you'll have to check this out, but I hear Cuba doesn't have it because it's very expensive, and they don't have the money to have it, or they don't want to spend the money to have it. They don't have Tylenol. and I hear they have essentially no autism. So you'll have to check it out. Yeah, Brian.
Medical professionals have warned for
I
decades.
said, no, not you. You're CNN. You're fake news. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to go back to the Amish community, if I can, just for a second. I recently saw a man from Minnesota, an Amish man from Minnesota, on a podcast, and the host asked him what the rates were for like ADHD and autism, and he had no idea about ADHD, didn't know that existed, and certainly didn't know of any cases. What are they doing?
It doesn't exist with the Amish community, and they don't take all of this junk. It doesn't exist. That tells you, doesn't that tell you? That's like, that's like certain countries where it doesn't exist and they don't take it. Would you like to make a comment about that one?
The Amish population, a very mixed group. So there's a subset that take vaccines, a subset that does not. And we know they have very low rates of chronic disease all across the board.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Should the establishment media show at least some openness to, trying to figure out what the causes of autism are?
I wish they would, yeah.
And why are they so closed-minded?
Well, look, it's not only the media, in all fairness, it's some people. When you talk about vaccines, they go crazy. And, I'm a big supporter of vaccines. I got a certain vaccine approved in 9 months that would have taken from 5 to 12 years. I'm very proud of it. A lot of people think it was one of the greatest things I've done, and some people think, mostly Republicans, actually. I'll tell you, the Democrats think it was, they think Operation Warp Speed was one of the greatest things any president has done, any president. It's, we're very proud of what happened. We got hit with something that came from a place that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. Those things take place, and you're very unpleasantly surprised. But no, I'm a big believer in vaccines. The polio vaccine, big believer in vaccines. I know Bobby and you guys have it out a little bit, but he's a believer in vaccines too. But I've seen how great vaccines can be, how incredible they can be. So I'm a believer. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, please.
Your comments made about MMR and hepatitis B, and you said those were your suggestions, but have you spoken with Secretary Kennedy about actually making those changes?
I have. I've spoken to all the doctors about it, and doctors that are not here right now. I've spoken to many doctors about everything we're talking about. And, the Tylenol has started to be spoken of over the last period of time, but we've been doing the research. A lot of what they've been speaking about comes from right here, by research done by these people. And I just say it again, don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. And don't give it to your child after your child is born. And do all those other things, little things, just spread out your visits, et cetera, on the vaccine. And I want to thank everybody. This is a very important day. Thank you very much.
Will you meet with the Democratic leader, sir?
He's not going to answer my question.